So you guys have been requesting that I recreate CHICO'S tacos out of El Paso, Texas. Now I will forewarn you, it has been over 20 years since I've had them. And from what I understand, they may have changed the cheese. I don't know. I'm gonna take what I have in my fridge, like I always do, and make it delicious. Here we go. So to start, I'm going to show you how I make the tomato consommé, or the tomato broth that goes over the tacos. Here I have, it's over 1.5 pounds of tomatoes. I just have a mix of Roma and just this large tomato. I have 1/3 of this onion. It's a large piece of onion. If you just have a whole small onion, that works. And I'm going to be using around 6 cloves of garlic. I'm going to puree this with a cup of water in the blender, and I'll show you how I make this flavorful broth. Okay, so I've chopped everything and I have it packed in my blender cup. And I'm also going to start with 2.5 tablespoons of chicken bouillon powder. This is going to give that broth a great flavor. So I'm just going to add this right in here. A cup of water, cover with the lid, and puree. Now I'm going to pour this into a pot and strain. If you don't want to strain it, you don't have to, but I think CHICO'S looks strained because it's brothy. And I don't remember seeing tomato bits floating in it, but it's up to you. So I'm just going to push this through my fine wire mesh strainer here. So when I get to this point, I started with 1 cup in the blender, and now I'm going to pour the rest of this, and that's in total 1 liter of water. My spoon. Okay, so I've pushed most of it through, and now I'm going for another liter of water. In all, 2 liters of water. So after that, this is what I end up with. So now I'm going to turn on the heat. Now I'm going to bring this up to a simmer. You can give it a taste for salt or seasoning. I'm going to let it simmer first, and then I'm going to adjust the flavor because everything is going to be to your taste and preference. So put the lid on and let it come up to simmer. So while my broth is simmering or coming up to simmer, I'm going to start on my ground beef. So here I have 1 pound of lean ground beef. I had my pan preheating over medium heat. I'm going to season with 1.5 teaspoons of beef bouillon powder, 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper, a little bit of garlic powder, maybe 1/4 teaspoon to 1/2 teaspoon, and the same amount for onion powder. Whoops, that looks more like 1/2 teaspoon. I'm just going to work that in, break apart the meat. Okay, at this point my ground beef is cooked. I'm going to drain out any excess fat that rendered out of the beef, and this is the filling. It's done. And you'll want to taste it for seasonings and spices and adjust to your preference. Okay, so this has been simmering for about 10-15 minutes. So you'll want to taste this for seasoning and salt. I'm actually, instead of adding more of the bouillon powder, I'm just going to adjust the seasoning with salt to taste. And there's so many things that you could add to up the flavor of your broth, like maybe a bay leaf or some aromatics, but I'm going with simple today. Pinch of salt going in. I just threw it everywhere, by the way. Give it a mix, taste, and this is done. Okay, so I lied. I added another 1/2 tablespoon of the chicken bouillon powder. In all, I added 3 tablespoons with 1/4 teaspoon to 1/2 teaspoon of salt. Remember, it's always to taste. Okay, so now it's time to roll these out. I've already softened and passed these through oil. You could do this in the microwave or on the stovetop on a griddle in a shallow fry. You're not really toasting them, you're just passing them through the hot grease to make them soft and pliable. I'm gonna see if I can do about 15 of these. Now to keep these tightly rolled and together, I'm going to use this paste of water and cornstarch. I used around 2 to 3 tablespoons of cornstarch to 2 tablespoons of water, gave it a mix, and that's what's going to hold these tacos together. Now, Chico's, I believe, uses fresh homemade corn tortillas, so it's easier to roll without doing all of this. But here we go. So I'm just going to take a little bit of my ground beef and kind of put it to one side here. And you're going to tightly roll. To tightly roll, you sort of start the roll and you pull back on it like that, and it keeps it in a tight roll. You're going to take some of that paste, put it just like that, and roll it out. And then kind of tuck in any meat that falls out. And then seam side down, just let it hang out. And repeat the process. Now that these are rolled out, by the way, I got 17 and I still have ground beef left over. So for sure you could get 18 to 20 tacos out of this. So now I'm ready to fry these. Okay, so now I'm going to do a shallow fry. I find that doing shallow fries prevent most of the filling to come out. So carefully put it seam side down and give it a second. And I'm just going to fry these until they are golden brown and crispy. Now that these are done, I'm going to place them on a baking sheet with a wire rack so they can just hang out and stay crispy. Okay, so all of my tacos are fried to perfection, a nice golden brown color. Here I have my flavorful broth that I've been keeping on a low heat to stay warm. And here I have my cheese. Now I don't remember the exact cheese that Chico's uses. I don't remember it being sharp cheese. It kind of, I don't know how to describe it, but it wasn't sharp cheese. But what I'm using today is a mild cheddar cheese. So use what you've got. And I grated it on the small setting or the smaller holes on the shredder. But now I'm gonna put this together. So I'm going to put my tacos here. I'm going to add a little bit of cheese, some broth. Whoops. I want more broth. There we go. Yum. Now just pile on more cheese. Actually, I remember it being like a mountain of cheese. So for those of you that do not like eating sounds, you might want to tune away, but I'm digging in. And to top this off, to make it really Chico style, you gotta add that spicy green salsa. I just didn't have any today. Here we go. I hope you give this recipe a try. I hope you like it, and thanks for watching.